Kriya. I shall first try to explain the meaning of this word before narrating my own experiences. Otherwise, readers who are not familiar with this sort of yoga system may find it difficult to comprehend. Readers who are already familiar with this kind of yoga system may also find this section helpful because Kriya, or the reaction in body, mind, and external daily life develops in many ways depending upon the character of a person. In order to understand why Kriya depends upon the character of a person, it is important to first understand how character is built in a person. It is said that every human being is continuously experiencing this worldly life through the physical senses. As a result, sensual impressions are recorded in the mind. It is these sensual impressions tinged by the color of egoism that are known as karma in yoga system. Because they construct the future destiny for a person, thus setting the wheel of cautions in motion. To put it in another way, one can say that karma constitutes of a person's past actions, both physical and mental. Tingled by the color of egoism, karma can either good or bad from an healthy point of view. Karma becomes cause for subsequent reaction, thus forming the destiny of a person. So, a set of such impressions pertaining to a particular subject develops a particular tendency in the mind of that person. Let me further elaborate on this. Every reader must be aware how brainwashing is done to a person. A series of sensual impressions recorded repeatedly to the mind makes a person tend to act in a certain manner. However, it may be only a tendency to act at this stage. Later on, this tendency might gather strength as the sensual impressions continue to be etched onto the mind of a person. It is the same story in every situation of life. When the sensual impressions are not strong enough, they may slowly fade away from the mind. In the similar manner as mentioned above, a set of these tendencies will develop a habit in that person pertaining to a particular category. This habit could be mental or physical. The sum total of all habits in a person is what we call the character of that person. It is simple as that. It is the character that, when broken down into pieces, is a bag of impressions that has been imprinted on the psyche of a person. It is this character, whether it belongs to a life or past lives, that is the basis of the fundamental reason for a man or a woman to take human birth in order to undergo the consciousness of past actions. It is the character of a person which results in their destiny. It is that character that is forced to be revolved in an accelerated manner so that all sensual impressions are burned down or erased from the mind of a person. The burning down process manifests as kriyas when a guru gives the required ignition to the person by initiating him or her into the yoga system, either by touch or sight or application of divine free will or through a mantra. Now let us understand the meaning of Kriya. By now, the readers may have already guessed what I am going to write next. This is self-explanatory. If readers understood what I meant by character of a person, the literal meaning of the word Kriya is of no importance. Kriya refers to the reaction that occurs in the mind, the body, and in external events. These reactions take place when the supreme primordial cosmic force tries to resolve the psychic of a person or clear the minds of all sensual impressions in an accelerated manner. When this is achieved, a person is free of all the impressions, good or bad, which has been accumulated in their mind over thousands of past lives. Everything needs to be destroyed, just as the character of a person has been constructed by piled up sensual impressions over counts of time. The same process needs to be undone so that the mind is completely free of any modification. When the mind is elevated to this tranquil state, the spirit enchained within the body is reflected in the tranquil waters of the mind. The resolution of the human psyche propels a person towards the last lap of self-realization. Although this outcome on the will of the Almighty, the supreme primordial cosmic energy that is conscious and all-knowing knows best as to how to achieve the resolution. So, consciousness of reactions are now triggered. With the Guru acting as a medium for the supreme primordial force, without this divine grace from the Guru, the wheel of life will otherwise go on and on in a never-ending cycle of action and reaction, or birth and death, or good action or bad action, or good fruits or bad fruits, or happiness or misery, or heat or cold, and indeed all other dualities. So whatever happens when Kriya actually starts manifesting in the body, mind and external daily life is a mystery to modern science, since it cannot be explained by any rational means. For example, a person might start sweating in spite of the cool weather outside, and this may happen without any psychological explanation. Everything needs to be destroyed. Just as the character of a person has been constructed by piled up sensual impressions over currents of time, the same process needs to be undone so that the mind is completely free of any modification. When the mind is elevated to this tranquil state, the spirit enshrined within the body is reflected in the tranquil waters of the mind. The resolution of the human physique propels a person towards the last lap of self-realization, although this outcome depends on the will of the Almighty. The supreme primordial cosmic energy that is conscious and all-knowing knows best as to how to achieve this resolution. So sequences of reactions are now triggered, with the Guru acting as the medium for the supreme primordial force. Without this divine grace from the Guru, the wheel of life will otherwise go on and on in the never-ending cycle of action and reaction, or birth and death, or good action or bad action, or good fruits and bad fruits, or happiness or misery, or heat or cold, and indeed all other dualities. So what happens when Kriya actually starts manifesting in the mind, body, and external daily life is the mystery to modern science, since it cannot be explained by any rational means. For example, a person might start sweeping in the spite of the cool weather outside, and this may happen without any psychological explanation. Some other person might suddenly start practicing certain yoga postures which he or she might have not learned in his or her present life. Some other person might start uttering certain mantras which he or she had never learned. In some cases, a person might start crying, laughing, or even start making animal-like sounds. In some cases, a person might start dancing, and that too may perform a particular form of dance that was never learned. In some cases, a person might start running to round and round on his or her seat, or even roll on the ground as if possessed by some other unknown demons inside the body. In some cases, a person might start singing in some unknown languages and tune. This list is inexhaustible in any way. All the above-mentioned reactions pertain to the cross-body, and no harmful side effects occur to the person in any way. Moreover, a person can stop the kriyas or reactions at any time by exercising free will very easily. In fact, it is a gift from the divinity, since the divinity is aware of the mind of the practitioner all the time. Here, readers are requested to understand that the divinity will ensure that the practitioner of yoga is not subjected to any sort of harm while the kriyas are being manifested. However, manifestation of the kriyas can be stopped voluntarily by a person if required. This control over the kriyas up to a certain extent has been conferred on the practitioner of yoga by the divinity. Sometimes kriyas can become uncontrollable, and only a guru can exercise the control over them. As I said earlier, the guru gives a mantra to a person at the time of initiation by placing his hand on the head crown, or uses a combination of techniques. In some cases, kriya starts manifesting in the body. Immediately, therefore, the initiated person is required to stay with the guru for 3 consecutive days so that the person is under direct observation when kriya starts manifesting. The intensivity of the kriyas is completely under the control of guru. The guru can either increase the intensity or decrease the intensity, or stop it or even delay its manifestation. After this initial period of the 3 days, the person is free to go and practice yoga anywhere. So when a person sits on a seat and starts the repetition of mantra, kriya starts manifesting after some time. The point of kriya is to clean the mind, to wipe away all its accumulated sensual impressions. So based on the character of a person, which again is the sum total of the impressions ever gathered by the person, a particular set of reactions may start manifesting. However, it does not mean that the same type of reactions will continue forever and also for everyone. The character of every human being is unique. Hence, the reactions which manifest to erase one's character are unique too. However, some common trends can be observed among human beings. Therefore, some common reactions could also be observed about the practitioners. Once the cleaning of the mind is over, a different set of reactions may start to manifest. But manifestation of the Kriya does not take place in a comprehensive-like manner. Sometimes the required cleaning of the mind may not have finished and a new type of Kriya might begin simultaneously, further followed by yet another type of Kriya. It is entirely based on the structure of the mind and the accumulated impressions. Manifestation of the reactions depends entirely on the nature of sensual impressions ever recorded in the mind of a person. So, it is the character of a person, as I said earlier, which fuels the Kriya being manifested in a person. So far, I have been talking about the kind of Kriya that pertains to the gross physical body of a person. I will now elaborate on other type of reactions. Some reactions can be classified as though pertaining solely to the mind. The reactions are not visible to an outside observer. The concerned person only knows when the Kriya takes place inside the body, inside the mind. This mental awareness is granted to the practitioner of yoga by the very supreme cosmic energy. Readers might question how anyone can differentiate between a normal thought and a thought which is tainted by a Kriya. Let me explain it in this way. Let us say a person has closed their eyes and is sitting on a meditative seat. Mental pictures starts flooding his or her mind. The person is not visualizing anything at all by any effort whatsoever. Further, the person might start seeing faces of people whom he or she has never met. Similarly, a person might see very clearly some cities and towns that he or she never visited. Further, he or she might see some strange kind of plants, flowers, trees, and creatures which are not even familiar. Further, the person might see some strange vehicle or weapon, which again are not even available in modern times. The reader might assume that the person must have read about them in books or watched them in movies. What if the person has absolutely no link to anyone, which is seen in the mind space? How can this entire phenomenon be explained? Look at it from whichever angle you want. The debate can go on and on. The fact is, it is clearly a Kriya. The person must have had that experience in the past life, and he or she is now being cleaned of all the accumulated sensual impressions by all-knowing supreme primordial energy operating in the reverse mode of destruction and involution. What I say destruction, it is the destruction of a psychic of a person that I am alluding to. This offers to the self-realization or divine knowledge can shine the mind. This can only happen when the accumulated impressions are now erased from the mind by the same energy itself. And that is what happens through the Kriya. Another type of Kriya can be classified as a type pertaining to external daily life. A person feels as if the divine energy that is all-knowing is actively interacting with their daily routine life. This happens because the cosmic energy is experienced by a practitioner distinctly as a separate entity inside and outside the body. I have elaborated on this in the detailed manner in later chapters of the book. Many bizarre and strange events starts occurring, thus confirming to the person that Kriya is indeed being manifested. Let me narrate a few examples. Suppose a person in a normal course of their life is destined to receive a serious injury to their right leg due to the past sins committed either in the life or the past life. In order to ascertain this destiny and remove the concerned impressions from their mind, the all-knowing energy will ensure that the person receives some mind injury in some form or the other, thus making the concerned person undergo the mandatory reactions. All necessary external conditions are created for the person in normal life so that the destiny can be worked out. Similarly, a person who is designed to drown in water might experience a very built event wherein somehow someone might throw some water on his or her head in normal daily life. However, similar kinds of reactions happen in the opposite manner too, wherein a person might be subjected to worldly enjoyment in a mild form, thus washing away all the merits accumulated due to good deeds in the past. Readers must remember that both the good and the bad impressions will get erased. Similarly, both the happy events and unhappy events in the life are also eliminated. This cleaning of mind from all type of impressions is mandatory for the light of absolute knowledge to shine. What has been learned in normal life needs to unlearn for the divinity to manifest.